Hey everyone, this is Jordan from Madtown Studios. Welcome back to another episode of Drawing the Facts. I hope all you're excited for today's episode. But before we start, I gotta address the elephant in the room. What's up with this hat? Well, today is a late video focusing on last week's holiday, St. Patrick's Day. Unfortunately, we had to postpone our episode due to some preparation for the coronavirus. We did delay our video, but we are back for another Green Edition episode. That's right, lean in green. You know what I mean? And I think you folks are really going to enjoy this episode. But before we start, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you want to see more projects and more content, then hit that subscribe button down below. And if you like this video, hit the like button. And share. And comments. And, all that good stuff. So, in today's episode, one of our subjects for today's facts is actually a mascot. Or even just a folk legend in Irish mythology. He's a small guy with a big attitude. But to spice things up, we're going to put him up against another character with attitude problems, and it's not too sociable. It's tricks versus trash, as we focus on the Leprechaun versus Oscar the Grouch. So, all you ladies and laddies, hang on to your gold and your garbage. This is Drawing the Facts, Green Edition. One man's trash is another man's treasure. Okay, let's start things off with the lucky little man himself, the Leprechaun. The Leprechaun is a legendary fairy which has been set in Irish folklore. But did you know that the legend actually goes all the way back to 8th century, in which case the Leprechaun was known as a water spirit called the Leprechaun, which also means small body. Did you also know that leprechauns were originally known as shoemakers? It's been said that leprechauns come from the Irish Leprechaun, which also means shoemaker, and is one of the main jobs for these sprites. And if you don't know already, here's how they operate. In folklore, if you capture a leprechaun, it will grant you 3 wishes in exchange for his freedom. But they can be pretty tricky, and it will come with a price. Leprechauns are the definition of the trickster character. Folklorist Carol Rose mentions a tale from an encyclopedia called Spirits, Fairies, Leprechauns, and Goblins, which tells the story of one of the leprechaun's trickeries. Long ago, a man actually managed to capture a leprechaun, as he showed them a bush of a field where he had hidden his treasure. However, though having no shovel, the man marked the tree with one of his red garters. As he released the sprite, he went back to get the shovel, or which they call a spade. When he returned, he ended up finding out that the numerous of trees were sported with red garters. The dude never got his money. The leprechaun screwed him over. The end. Wow, these guys are such trolls. Like other magical creatures like fairies, leprechauns actually have a very distinctive sound. While the Irish banshee can be identified with a mournful wail, leprechauns are known for their tapping. They make a tap-tap-tapping noise, almost like a tiny cobbler hammer, driving nails into shoes, once again connecting them to a shoemaker's. In history, there is no record that there are any female leprechauns. Most of them have been being described as old men, sporting a beard, wearing buckled shoes, wearing a pointed cap, and occasionally smoke a pipe. Not that kind of pipe. But did you know, before leprechauns wore their traditional green, in early tales, they actually sported red clothing? And going back to a leprechaun's tapping sound, W.B. Yeats actually offered an 18th century poem by William Ellingham titled The Leprechaun or Fairy Shoemaker, in which case he described the tapping noise as this. Lay your ear close to the hill. Do you not catch the tiny clamor? Busy click of an elfin hammer. Voice of the leprechaun, singing shrill, as he merrily piles his trade. If you like my terrible accent, give me a thumbs up. Did you know there's a disorder that is based upon leprechauns? It is titled leprechaunism, but in scientific terms, it's also known as Donahue syndrome. It was an extremely rare disorder characterized by an abnormal resistance to insulin. Leprechauns became so popular that there's actually a character created called Lucky the Leprechaun, who became a mascot for General Mills breakfast cereal Lucky Charms. Other popular Leprechaun characters include the mascot for the Boston Celtics, the mascots for the Notre Dames, Brian Connor, played by Jimmy O'Dea from the Disney film Darby O'Gill and the Little People, Hornswoggle from WWE, Og from 1968's Finn's Rainbow, Seamus Molden from the Magical Legend of the Leprechauns, Wee Man, which surprisingly makes sense, and of course, my personal favorites, the Leprechaun from the Leprechaun movie series. In fact, the Leprechaun you're about to see now is based on that character from the movies. First Leprechaun film premiered in 1993, starring Jennifer Aniston. I won't get too much onto her because, well, you know, she's Jennifer Aniston. Just look her up. Although this was her first feature film role, she's not the main star of the film. That actually goes to the Leprechaun himself, Warwick Davis. He's one of Hollywood's famous dwarf actors, playing in films such as Willow, The Labyrinth, as well as a couple of Star Wars films. He's also played the lead in 6 Leprechaun movies. That show how devoted he is to this role. Despite popular beliefs that the first film did not make a lot of money, that's actually incorrect. The budget for this film was around $900,000. However, though, the film actually made $9 million at the box office. One of the main reasons why the Leprechaun ended up in the United States was because of Daniel O'Grady, who returned from Ireland to his home state of North Dakota, capturing the Leprechaun and his pot of gold. The Leprechaun movie was also the first film to be released in 1993, as it came out on January 8th, coming out before Jurassic Park, Mrs. Doubtfire, and The Fugitive. Mark Jones, who's the writer and director of the Leprechaun movie, also directed another fairy tale creature, which was Rumpelstiltskin in 1995. So if you like to get more nightmares on little people, check it out. Leprechaun in the Hood, which was actually the film that I kind of based this Leprechaun on, was the 5th installment in the Leprechaun series. It also starred Ice-T, who played Mac Daddy Onassis, which was a role he played before he became famous in Law & Order SVU. Unfortunately, this is one of his last roles in the Leprechaun series, since he was blown up by the Leprechaun himself. Rest in peace, Mac Daddy. I also want to mention too that Leprechauns in the Hood is the greatest film of all time. I don't care what anyone else says, because you will never ever see a leprechaun spitting out rhymes. As for the final fact on leprechauns, leprechauns are actually not just mythical creatures. They're actually an endangered species. In the small Irish town of Carlingford, leprechauns are actually officially protected species, and are lawfully protected since 2009. And according to locals, the last living leprechauns, all 236 of them, live in this region. And if you'd like to know more about leprechauns, you can check out these 3 places. There's a Leprechaun Park, which is in Mill Ends Park in Oregon. There's a Leprechaun Cavern, which is located in the town of Carlingford. And then there's a Leprechaun Museum, which is located in Dublin, Ireland. So, either as a legend or an endangered species, leprechauns always have the power of luck on their side. Okay, looking pretty good. Now, before I continue on, I want to quickly mention, or I guess really promote, our new store. If you like the work we do and want to wear it wherever you go, check out TeePublic. On there, we're selling t-shirts, tote bags, and much more. From our original works to some properties you're probably familiar with, we'll be putting up some more art that you can carry with you. And the best part is, you'll look smashing in it. Click on the link below and check out the Madtown merch on TeePublic. And now, back to the show. Okay, in the next corner, we have America's favorite green furry monster. If you told him he's trash, he'll take that as a compliment. He's one of the Muppets' most least lovable and more miserable characters. We're going to talk about Oscar the Grouch. Oscar was created by the legendary and late Jim Henson, who was meant to be an example of the importance of understanding, tolerance, and diversity. But did you know that Oscar was actually based on, well, an Oscar? Jim Henson's inspiration for this character actually came from a rude waiter at a restaurant named Oscar's Salt of the Sea. The original design for Oscar was actually a lot different. In the original concept, Henson imagined him having spiky hair and having more of a magenta color, but due to the limitations of color back in the 1960s, Oscar was redesigned with orange fur for its premiere on the first season of Sesame Street in 1969. But this, however, changed to his iconic green color in the second season. And as stated by the Muppet himself, orange is actually his true color. It wasn't until he took a vacation at the Swamp Mushy Muddy where he became so damp he was covered in slime and mold, which explains his green aesthetic. Groucho was originally performed by the late Carol Spinney, who's also known for playing iconic characters like Big Bird. Being born as a half puppet, Oscar is operated as a live hand puppet, which means that one of the performer's hands in the puppet's head, while the other one is in the puppet's arms, which has the gloves for the hands. Another puppeteer usually is needed to operate the other arm, which is known as the right handing. Oscar's first words in Sesame Street was, "Don't bang on my can." And going back to Carol Spinney, the inspiration for Oscar's voice actually was based on a voice on a taxi driver. But you know how it is in the Big Apple and the taxis, you know. I mean, it's like, hey, come on now, come on. If you'd like me to stop doing accents, like, comment, and share. Jeff Moss, who was one of the head writers of Sesame Street, said that Oscar came into tuition when an educator suggested of having a character on the show who wasn't cheerful all the time. You know, if Kermit the Frog can get a song, then gosh darn it, why can't Oscar get his own? Well, he actually does. Oscar's signature song is I Love Trash, which happens to be a waltz. Billboard magazine rates this as the third best song in Sesame Street history, behind Being Green and I Don't Want to Live on the Moon. And as some of you might be questioning, Oscar does have legs. In some of the episodes, Oscar is shown lifting the can and walking. The feet actually belong to the actor Herb Villechaize. Herb Villechaize. Sorry, Herb. As he gained fame as Tattoo on ABC's Fantasyland. As much as being someone who does like to be on camera, Oscar has been in multiple shows, including the Sesame Street show, was a guest in the Electric Company, was in the Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, The Great Muppet Caper in 1981, Big Bird in China in 1983, Follow the Bird 1985, The Muppets Celebration of 30 Years in 1986, A Muppet Family Christmas, Elmo Saves Christmas, was a guest in The Rosie O'Donnell Show, Adventures of Elmo in Grouchland in 1999, was a guest star in Scrubs, had more guest appearances on The Colbert Report, as well as Jimmy Kimmel Live, was in the Sesame Street Christmas Carol. Wow, Oscar has a lot of Christmas movies. I'm actually kind of surprised by that. Was in The Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian, and his most recent appearances was once again being a guest on The Late Late Show with James Corden, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and the latest, The Kelly Clarkson Show. And while Carol Spinney was the main voice actor and puppeteer for Oscar, he was then later replaced with Eric Jacobson. And that's it. I really want to give out more facts about Oscar, but looks like there isn't a lot. Wait, hold on. Actually, I take that back. Looking things up on the good old internet, one of the latest projects that Oscar was seen in was in something that he despises most of all: advertisement. You can check out Oscar the Grouch in a commercial for Squarespace, of all places. It's a nice little short and commercial, as Oscar faces off against art lovers, who actually see his garbage as, well, contemporary art. Which is not a surprise. It's a cute and funny little celebration of the 50-year presence of Oscar the Grouch. It's a very funny yet endearing film directed by Jim Jenkins, and a good example of the term, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And speaking of Squarespace, our sponsor for this episode is... Wait a minute. They're not my sponsor. Yet. Here it is, folks. The tiny tapping trickster himself, the Leprechaun, versus the garbage-loving monster, Oscar the Grouch. I hope you liked this video and learned a couple of facts. And even though this is post St. Patrick's Day, I hope you feel a little green watching this. But, of course, not too green. That wouldn't be good at all. Well, that's it for this episode, and I hope to see you again in April as we learn the facts of a very famous painting, the Mona Lisa. And until then, be happy, stay healthy, and feel lucky. Hey everyone, this is Jordan from Madtown Studios. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be putting up new content each month. Down below in the comments, if you have any questions for me, or if you have any recommendations of what I should draw, please let me know. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more updates from Madtown Studios, tap that subscribe button down below. Well, see you next time. Peace.